Today we are sewing the Dalana Book Bag, a streamlined everyday crossbody with just the right amount of structure and style. It's the perfect size for carrying books, daily essentials, and everything in between. This pattern was designed by Peg from our Sallie Tomato team, and it was inspired by her granddaughter, Dalana Jo, who's never without a book in hand. Peg created this bag to carry more than one book comfortably, with just enough pockets to keep things organized, but not bulky. Hi, I'm Kate, and welcome to the Sallie Tomato YouTube channel. If you're new here, we're so glad you found us. Our mission is to make sewing approachable and enjoyable through projects that are stylish, functional, and confidence building. Be sure to subscribe and sew along with us. We're here to help you create confidently. The Dalana Book Bag features everything you need in a go-to everyday bag. A magnetic flap closure for easy access, a concealed front slip pocket, back slip pocket for quick grab items, interior zipper and slip pockets including a pencil pocket, an optional D-ring for key fob or clip-on accessories, an adjustable strap for a custom comfortable fit. The finished size is 11.5 inches wide by 10.5 inches high, and it's 2.5 inches deep. You can make the Dalana in a variety of fabrics, from canvas or denim to cork, faux leather, or micro suede. Use a bold contrast fabric for the flap or gusset, or keep it subtle with tonal layers. The pattern is beginner friendly, and it's a great way to practice combining functional features with your own personal style. Before we begin, make sure to grab the Dalana pattern using the link in the description below. However, many local quilt shops and fabric stores carry Sallie Tomato patterns and supplies, so we hope you'll consider supporting your favorite shop when gathering your supplies for this project. You'll find the full supply list on the back cover and cutting instructions on the first page of the instructions. This pattern is such a special one, not only because of its functionality, but because it was created with love and intention. Peg wanted something her granddaughter would treasure, and now you can make it as well, either for yourself or for somebody who loves to read. Once you've chosen your fabrics, gather your materials, go ahead and cut your pieces out following the pattern instructions. I'll guide you through each step so you can sew along with confidence. Don't rush, enjoy the process, and let's get into the tutorial. You may find it helpful to label your pieces as you cut them by marking the name of each piece on the wrong side with removable pen or chalk, or download and print the free piece labels sheet from our website. You'll have a variety of sizes and cuts of fabric. I'll just do a quick review. I like to group my parts of the project in related piles or stacks. So here I have the main piece A along with lining and foam. You'll see my piece B, again having the main exterior fabric, lining and foam. And then I've kind of grouped the contrast pieces along with their lining pieces and foam, if that is part of that area of the project. And then I have the webbing. This will be for the adjustable strap and connectors. The first step is to fuse interfacing to the coordinating pieces. So follow the instructions to fuse interfacing to the coordinating pieces. You can skip this step if you're using Turtletex for your lining. I'm using Turtletex, and the beauty of this fabric is it is coated on the wrong side. This coating makes it water resistant, but also acts as an interfaced fabric. Let's move on to the next step and shape our pieces. Position the corner shaping template, which is located in your pattern. Trace the outer edge of the template from edge to edge in each corner along the bottom long edge of all your pieces A. So that would be your main exterior fabric, your lining fabric, as well as the foam or fleece or air mesh as your fleece layer or foam layer. And then cut along the marked lines to round each corner. And you can see I've done that already on several of my pieces A. And you'll repeat this step, marking and shaping the opposite corners along the bottom edges of each piece B, that's your flap, the piece F, that's your contrast snap facing, as well as the bottom shorter edges of each piece D. That will be the pieces for the exterior pockets. On the wrong side of each contrast piece E, this is the pencil pocket. Measure in from the opposite corners along the short bottom edge, and then draw an angled line from each mark to each adjacent top corner. And then you'll cut along the angled lines to shape your pencil pocket. Let's move on to prepare the exterior gusset. With right sides together, align all the edges of the contrast fabric piece C. This is your exterior gusset pieces. At one end, sew the short edges together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance and then press the seam open. If you're using a fabric that is heat sensitive, simply use a seam roller or your fingers to press that seam allowance open. After finger pressing the seam open, you could certainly add a sewing clip at each end of the seam just to help hold those ends in place while we prepare for the next step. Then we're going to move on to attach the heavy stabilizer to the foam base. With right sides up, center the heavy stabilizer, piece L, over your foam piece K. You could certainly use a piece of basting tape to hold the heavy stabilizer in place, or use sew-tight magnets. Then at the sewing machine, top stitch an 1/8 inch from the edges of your heavy stabilizer. That's piece L. Let's move on to attaching the foam to the coordinating pieces. With right sides up, center the exterior gusset over the foam piece K, aligning the long edges. And you can decide which side is right side up. I'm going to place my foam with the heavy stabilizer, so that's my wrong side of the foam. Align all the long edges. You could certainly use basting tape or sew-tight magnets to hold the layers together, or use sewing clips, as I'm doing here. And then at the machine, baste a 1/4 inch from both long edges. And then also top stitch a 1/4 inch from each side of the gusset center seam. With right sides up, align all the edges of each main fabric piece A over one foam piece J. If you have a heavier main fabric, you can certainly go ahead and trim a 1/2 inch away from that topmost edge. That way you're going to reduce bulk. That will be very helpful in a later step as we assemble the bag. At the sewing machine, you'll baste a 1/4 inch from all the edges. If you have trimmed a 1/2 inch from the top edge of the foam, you only need to baste along the bottom and side edges. Then take a little time to carefully trim away the excess foam from the seam allowances without cutting through the stitches. This is an optional addition. On the right side, install a handmade label centered and down from the long straight edge of one contrast piece D. That's an exterior pocket. We always recommend adding a scrap of fusible interfacing on the wrong side, covering the prongs of the hardware. This will help protect the lining. Be sure to visit our YouTube channel if you'd like to watch a video tutorial with helpful tips for installing metal handmade labels. With right sides together, align all the edges of one contrast piece D and one lining piece D. These are exterior pocket pieces. You'll sew these together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, leaving about a 4 to 5 inch opening along the lower edge. That's between the two bottom curved corners. Make sure you backstitch at the beginning and end of this seam when you're going all the way around for reinforcement. At the corners, it's helpful to, instead of pivoting immediately at the corner, is to angle stitch just one stitch across the corner when you're using heavier fabrics, such as I am with a faux leather. Stitching that angled stitch will help create a nice, neat, square corner when turning the pocket right side out. Once you have the pocket sewn, trim the corners to reduce the bulk. And a pinking shears is the perfect tool to quickly and evenly trim these curved corners. It reduces the bulk and is very smooth. Just be careful to not cut into your stitches. Then turn the pocket right side out. Turn the seam allowances at the opening to the wrong side, creating an even edge along the bottom. I find using the very narrow 1/8 inch wide double-sided basting tape is perfect to help hold the fabric edges in place. Just apply the tape at the very edge of your cut edge, then fold in the seam allowance, press it with your fingers, and then it stays beautifully. You can press with an iron or seam roller if you wish. And then top stitch an 1/8 inch from the top straight edge. Now I'm using a heavier contrast fabric, so I decided to top stitch a 1/4 inch. This is a design option. You can stitch an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch, whichever you prefer the look of. And then you'll repeat these steps using the remaining contrast and lining pieces D to create a second exterior pocket, just as I've done here. With right sides up, center one exterior pocket up from the shaped bottom edge of the main fabric piece A exterior back. Try using sew tight magnets. They work wonderfully, especially for fabrics that you don't want to pin through and in areas where sewing clips just might not reach. Then at the sewing machine, top stitch along the side and bottom edges with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. And then you're going to repeat the same step, placing the remaining exterior pocket just down from the straight top edge of the exterior front. And next we're going to install the snaps. On the right side of the exterior front, piece A, that's with the pocket higher up, closer towards the straight top edge, install one female half of each magnetic snap up from the bottom edge and in from each side. Then on the right side of the lining, piece B, this is the flap, install one male half of each magnetic snap, just up and in from each shaped bottom corner, just as you see here. I have them marked, but if you want to do a quick check of the placement, go ahead and mark and then place the flap on the main piece front with the female snaps already installed, and just compare where your marks land in relationship to the attached snaps. If you need to make a small adjustment, now's the time to do it. You haven't cut into anything. Once you are sure that your marks are where you want them, then install the male halves of the snaps. A quick tip, if you prefer using a sew-in magnet, be sure to mark the attracting sides of each set of magnets and then place the attracting side of the magnet on the wrong side of both the exterior and the lining pieces. That way the flap will quickly snap right into place. Be sure to visit our YouTube channel for tutorials on how to attach different types of magnetic snaps. I'll be installing one style in our sample. We're going to set these pieces aside for a few minutes and let's attach the strap connectors. Slide 1 or 2 D-rings onto each webbing piece end that's a strap connector. With wrong sides together, fold the webbing ends to meet in the middle of the underside, encasing one D-ring in a fold. With right sides up, position one D-ring connector centered with the top of the hardware down from each short end of the gusset. Hold the strap connector in place with basting tape and then top stitch near the hardware and an 1/8 inch from the remaining sides. With right sides up, position one piece E pencil pocket centered down from each connector or the connector hardware. Hold the little pocket in place with a bit of basting tape and then top stitch along the bottom short edge of each pencil pocket. Then position the top corners of the pocket in from the long gusset edges, keeping the long pocket edge smooth and straight, and then top stitch an 1/8 inch from the long edges of each pencil pocket. If you prefer, Jen, our sample sewist and tester, had another tip for attaching the little pencil pocket. She positions the bottom edge of the pocket, but then begins sewing or top stitching at one top edge. She keeps that edge in line, then sews across the bottom edge, then positions the second side of the pocket and top stitches to the end of the pocket. Either way will give you a beautiful result, so give either technique a try. Now we're ready to begin assembling the exterior. Mark center along the bottom shaped edge of the main fabric pieces A, both the exterior front and back, and with right sides together, match the main fabric front center to the contrast fabric gusset center seam and align the edges. And then at the sewing machine, sew them together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. You can also cut tiny 1/8 inch snips into the gusset around or at the position of the curved corners if you find that helps the gusset to lay flat. Then you're going to repeat this step to attach the gusset to the main fabric back. I prefer to get the straight bottom edges aligned and clip together first and then work on the two curved edges and then up the side edges. I prefer to sew with the gusset facing up and the front or the back panel towards the machine bed. I find it a little easier that way to manage all the layers. And you can leave the exterior wrong side out. The flap is a great area to add embroidery or any other surface embellishments. This is a perfect time to add your artistry before assembling the flap. With right sides up, position the contrast fabric piece F snap facing at the bottom edge of the main fabric piece B flap, aligning the shaped bottom edge and the sides. Use basting tape or washi tape to hold this facing in place. Then, with right sides together, place the main fabric piece B flap to the lining piece B, aligning all the edges. Sew along the sides, bottom edge, and curved corners with 3/8 inch seam allowance. Leave the top straight edge unsewn. You may have a preference of sewing the flap together with the lining side up or facing towards you, just so that the magnets aren't sticking directly to the sewing machine bed. Then clip the curved corner seam allowances without cutting through the stitching. Again, a pinking shears is perfect for this step. Turn the flap right side out through the unsewn edge and use your fingers or seam roller to smooth the seam edges. Top stitch 1/4 inch from the seam edges of the flap and an 1/8 inch from the raw edge of the snap facing. You could certainly use sewing clips to hold the finger pressed edge in place. I'm just going to top stitch and roll the seam at the same time. With right sides together, center the flap along the top of the exterior piece A back, aligning the raw edges. Then baste the layers together with 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're ready to make and attach the interior slip pocket. I already have this pocket completed and attached to our lining piece. One tip I'd like to point out, and this is from Jen again, she loves to top stitch 2 rows of top stitching along the top edge of the pocket. This is reinforcement and also a marker that you'll know exactly where to position the pocket because your top pocket edge will have a double row of stitching. Thanks, Jen. Be sure to visit our YouTube channel to watch a video tutorial on how to assemble a slip pocket. And then let's go right into adding the interior zipper pocket, which, as you can see, I already have completed using lining pieces I. I've already gone ahead and stitched the side edges of the pocket, as you can see here, leaving the bottom pressed edges of the pocket open for turning the bag after we complete assembly. To complete the interior, follow the steps that we used for assembling the exterior and refer to your pattern for those specific steps. We're going to attach the lining pieces A, interior front and back, to the lining piece G, that's the interior gusset. To mark the centers of my lining front and back as well as the gusset, I'm just folding each piece in half and then taking a tiny clip at the fold. You certainly could use a marking pen or pencil at that point as well. When you begin sewing the side seams at the top edge, use a 3/8 inch seam allowance and then increase to a 3/4 inch seam allowance near the bottom edge. This wider seam allowance for the lining will help it fit very neatly inside the bag. And then after sewing, trim the seam allowances to a 1/4 inch wide. And then turn the lining right side out. On the wrong side, mark center between the gusset seams along the top edges of the bag exterior and also the interior fronts and backs. With right sides together, slip the bag interior into the exterior. Match the center marks, the main gusset seams, and align the top edges. When pinning the top edge of your bag, you can certainly finger press the seams open at the gusset and the front and back panels, or simply position the seams going in opposite directions at that seam allowance. Then at the sewing machine, sew them together with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Then turn the bag right side out by pushing the exterior and the lining through the opening in the zipper pocket. Smooth and top stitch the opening in the lining closed with an 1/8 inch seam allowance. And then push the lining down into the exterior. Use your fingers to roll the top seam, keeping that top edge smooth. Then top stitch along the seam edge with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Take your time as you're top stitching along that top edge. Feel free to move the fabric, squish the bag. It'll be fine. It'll come back into shape. You are the boss as you're sewing. All that's left is making the adjustable strap. Follow your pattern for making the adjustable strap. I've already attached my slider buckle. As you can see, I have just simply folded the cut end of the webbing down about 1/2 inch and then folded the webbing onto itself and secured it with 2 rows of top stitching. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for a variety of methods to create an adjustable strap. Once I have the end that does not have the slider buckle threaded through the swivel hook and back through the slider buckle, I've simply added the remaining swivel hook, fold the end under, and then again onto itself. And then I'll top stitch. Attach your adjustable strap to your Dalana bag and you are ready for your next book adventure. I hope you enjoyed making your very own Dalana book bag, whether you keep it or gift it. This bag is a heartfelt reminder that handmade items can be both practical and deeply personal. We'd love to see what you create. Share your makes using #DalanaPattern and #Sallie Tomato so we can celebrate your creativity and feature your work in our community. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future tutorials. We're always releasing fresh new patterns, tips, and ideas to help you create confidently. Thanks so much for watching and have a great making day.